You know, if I would have known about the comment that Kwame Brown made in regards to Breonna Taylor's killing, I have to honestly say I would have never ever subscribed to this man's channel. I just got to keep it real. Honestly, I got to say that a lot of us got played. We didn't know who he was. But more and more we're finding out about him, and we found out about him due to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and then the verdict. So I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to share you what he said about Breonna Taylor's killing. Good morning. It's your girl, Miss Ann Little Cole. I'm up still. Hopefully everybody is, being productive today. Whether you're going to work, going to school, going to the store, taking your kids to school, running errands, or just taking time out for yourself. So, I am going to talk about Kwame Brown's remarks about Breonna Taylor's killing. Now, yes, this incident this happened a couple of months ago about his response in regards to Breonna Taylor. But the case is almost 2 years old. Now, why this is coming up, I had no idea about what he said. It's coming up because of his comments about why did black people put all their attention towards Kyle Rittenhouse instead of Ahmaud Arbery. So people, bring back receipts, and then they basically blew up his spot all over again. Now, when this happened, in terms of his remarks about Breonna Taylor, he was losing subscribers. He was losing fans. But if it wasn't for the whole thing with Hassan Campbell, he wouldn't have got back on top. Oh, no, not just Hassan Campbell. Yeah, if it wasn't for Hassan Campbell, because this happened right after the Charlemagne the God situation, when Charlemagne talked about his family. Now, Kwame never apologized to Breonna Taylor's family. He never did. You can say what you want to about Charlemagne, but Charlemagne did apologize. He even apologized on air. Whether it was sincere or not, he did it. So I'm going to read an article from the Moguldom Nation. And it reads, fact check. Did Kwame Brown blame Breonna Taylor for dating a thug? Former NBA player Kwame Brown has been stirring up controversy lately. Amid a much publicized social media beef with 3 other former ballers, comes word that Brown may have blamed Breonna Taylor for her own death because she once dated a quote-unquote thug. The Kentucky police said they were on the hunt for Taylor's former boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover, and or his possessions when they shot and killed Taylor in a botched raid on her home on March 13, 2020. Their no-knock warrant resulted in the death of the 26-year-old emergency room technician. Glover was later arrested on drug charges, by all accounts. He and Taylor were no longer in a relationship. Taylor was in a relationship with someone new, Kenneth Walker, who was in the apartment the night the police barged in and killed her. So what did Brown 39 say on his popular YouTube channel about Taylor? The former Washington Wizards guard surprisingly blamed Taylor and Walker for her death. Walker fired shots at the officers, believing that they were attackers breaking into the house, the Republic World reported. On Twitter, some defended Brown's right to have an opinion. Kwame Brown is a free Negro, not beholden to the blue check industrial complex. That's why he can say what he wants, how he wants to say it, tweeted Marcus Ados. You need to change your name. Big Husband at the South tweeted, well, you know where I stand on police, so we don't even have to get into that. At the end of the day, my whole thing with Brown is him having a voice to speak and not be silenced. I'm not necessarily an advocate of his. So it reads that Brown's comments about Taylor came days after his viral rants aimed at All the Smoke podcast trio Gilbert Arenas, Steven Jackson, and Matt Barnes. All his ex-NBA stars. The trio had discussed Brown's career with the Wizards and commented that playing with Michael Jordan had destroyed Brown's confidence. They compared him to a show pony. So that's one article. Now I'm going to read another article where it talks about... Hold on for a second. Let me just pause. Okay, so I'm going to read an article. And this is actually from the New York Times. This is like a snippet. This is like a clip from it. Or like, a couple of paragraphs. It reads, shortly after midnight on March 13th, Louisville police officers executed a search warrant, used a battering ram to enter the apartment of Miss Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency room technician. The police had been investigating two men who they believed were selling drugs out of a house that was far from Miss Taylor's home. But a judge had also signed a warrant allowing the police to search Miss Taylor's residence because the police said they believed that one of the men had used her apartment to receive packages. Miss Taylor had been dating that man on and off for several years, but had recently severed ties with him, according to her family's lawyer. Miss Taylor and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, had been in bed, but got up when they heard a loud banging at the door. Mr. Walker said he and Miss Taylor both called out, asking who was at the door. Mr. Walker later told the police he feared it was Miss Taylor's ex-boyfriend trying to break in. After the police broke the door off the hinges, Mr. Walker fired his gun once, striking Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly in the thigh. The police responded by firing several shots, striking Miss Taylor 5 times. Mr. Hankinson shot 10 rounds blindly into the apartment. Mr. Walker told investigators that Miss Taylor coughed and struggled to breathe for at least 5 minutes after she was shot. According to the Louisville Courier-Journal, an ambulance on standby outside the apartment had been told to leave about an hour before the raid, counter to standard practice. And as officers called an ambulance back to the scene and struggled to render aid to their colleague, Miss Taylor was not given any medical attention. It was not until 12:47 a.m., about 5 minutes after the shooting, that emergency personnel realized she was seriously wounded after her boyfriend called 911. Now, whoever posted this, I'm happy you did, because I want to get you all the sense of what went down and why Kwame Brown's statements are utterly despicable. What he said in reference to this was his exact words was he didn't think it was right that the police killed her. It wasn't right in the way they went into her house and fired off the gun. But she brought it on herself because of who she associated with. So he looks at it as, if you don't associate with certain people, your life will not end up that way. But if you do associate with certain people who are not good for you, you can end up in these situations. So you can end up in situations due to racist cops just coming in and badgering you and then shooting you without reading you your rights. Killing you, hitting you with bullets 10 times and entering 5 times in your body, and not only having assistance there just in case things like that happen, which did, but the ambulance that was on standby, just in case this would happen, they were told to leave before the raid, 1 hour before the raid. Now, Kwame Brown, I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to tell you why you don't like this girl. You don't like this girl because this girl got more attention from the NBA than you did. Okay? This girl got more attention and more support from the NBA and more respect from them than you did. Okay? See, many people don't know this. Many people don't know that this young lady was getting attention. This young lady was basically being spoken to. This young lady was basically being honored and being spoken about by many NBA players. They were very hurt by this, and they spoke about her, and they were unapologetic about their stance, particularly LeBron James. Even the Sparks honored her at the opening season back in 2020, which is why they wore a Black Lives Matter shirt in honor of her, because she was murdered unconsciously by police, and that's in terms of falling under the term police brutality. Kwame Brown does not like people who get more attention than him. I noticed that. He goes after them. He's almost the same as Hassan Campbell, in my opinion. And now it makes sense how come him and Tommy Sotomayor became friends. Now, there's a saying, if you don't have anything nice to say or supportive to say, don't say anything at all. That could have been something that could have been kept personal. You didn't have to go at her in terms of her no longer being on this earth. Whether she dated a drug dealer or not, which they say she did, it don't matter. First of all, the thing that mattered is that this young lady lost her life because the cops came in there with a warrant, but they did not knock, and they did not tell themselves that they did not tell them that they were the police. Had they had done that, more than likely this would have never happened, and Breonna Taylor not only would still be alive, she wouldn't have been arrested, because it would have been proven that she was not packing drugs and stocking drugs in her house. Her house was not a trap house. The guy who she dated off and on, his name is, let me just say it. His name is, what was his name? Hold on. I think his name is Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go back to see it. His name is Jonathan. I could be wrong. Hold on. Let me see. His name is the boyfriend. Jonathan was the cop. Jonathan was one of the cops that got shot. So the ex-boyfriend, basically, we just gonna call him the ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend, pretty much, they say, the tea is that he was trying to take her out. He basically put a hit out on Breonna Taylor. Now, is there connections to that in the Louisville police? I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna make that accusation, but what has been said was that Breonna Taylor got rid of him simply because she was not trying to get caught up in the whole drug. Oh, his name is Jamarcus Glover. Her former boyfriend is Jamarcus Glover. And he was a big time drug dealer. And she was basically trying to separate herself from that, connection, because she was becoming an EMC. And he had a bone to pick with her because she was moving on from him, and she didn't want to have nothing to do with especially when you're a civil servant, you can't associate with that, with that lifestyle. That you can't. And he had an issue with it. Now, Kwame Brown, I'm going to say this. If I and others had known about Kwame Brown before this, I would not have subscribed to his channel. I knew about Kwame Brown's situation, and I was rooting for him because of how he stood up for himself in front of Stephen A. Smith, Steven Jackson. Matt Barnes didn't really say anything bad, to be honest. He actually felt sorry for the dude to a point, but he was co-signing what Steven Jackson was saying, and Charlamagne the God. If I would have known that, I would not have ever signed up and joined his channel. I would have never basically subscribed to his channel, because between what he said about Breonna Taylor and how he got upset with black people calling out Kyle Rittenhouse and not seeing the reason why we were very attentive to the trial, knowing that when white people basically see another white person harassing somebody, and they basically stop it, they become more of the enemy to white people than the blacks, because they're supposed to stay on code in terms of the realms of white supremacy. He didn't want to see that, and that's what we was telling him. And let me tell you something. Shout out to Pharaoh Speaks, because Pharaoh Speaks, my bro, he was the one that basically was saying in a video, we just can't basically co-sign this dude. We don't know who he is. Like, yeah, he's saying some good stuff, but we got to still check him out. And even with the Hassan Campbell situation, I basically had subscribed to him, because I'm like, Hassan really did go at him and was picking on him. And Kwame basically didn't even know this man from a can of paint. But this is after what he mentioned about Breonna Taylor. And according to news articles, he was losing fans and also subscribers. But the Hassan Campbell situation basically got his subscriber count back up. And because we all feel a certain way about Hassan Campbell, is the reason why many people sort of brush the Breonna Taylor situation on the rug, which is sad, because it's like, I would hate, in terms of collectively, I would hate for Hassan Campbell, and despisement for him is stronger than our support for Breonna Taylor and her family. And that was jacked up. So it proves everything that people were saying. And Pharaoh Speaks, basically make sure you basically you view his content and his videos in regards to Kwame Brown and support his channel. He basically calls him out. And he was the one that mentioned Breonna Taylor. And this led me to basically be like, I didn't know, let me check it out. I checked it out. I heard it. It was deplorable. So with that being said, it's your girl, Miss Little Cool. I'm signing out. But I'm coming back right away about the TBA, Jason Black, and Kwame Brown debacle. No, they haven't spoken to each other online, but the way Kwame Brown spoke about Jason Black, it was despicable. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's another YouTuber who basically calls out Kwame Brown, and he said that he's an opportunist. He was always an ultra black conservative, which is how him and Tommy Sotomayor became friends. But what happened was, when he saw the support that he was getting from black people in regards to Stephen A. Smith, he basically switched up his tone, and he made his message softer. He basically goes where the supporters go. He basically follows them. So he changes his channel. And I'm going to be honest with you, I would say by next year, his channel ain't going to be popping like that, because people are going to see him for who he is. So it's your girl, Miss Little Cool. I'm signing off for now, but I will be right back shortly. Take care.